Hurricane Central.
And right now, watching the windy conditions in the British Virgin Islands as Irma approaches. This is brand new video into the Weather Channel.
Yeah, you're looking at the palm trees swaying in the wind, and notice the heavy surf there in the distance. Extreme stuff throughout the British Virgin Islands, and again, they are under the gun within the next hour or so of the eye moving right overhead.
All right, we're going to get to Carl in just a second, but also want to show you some video that we have coming in out of Anguilla. You can see heavy rain and wind, structure still intact at this point. This was earlier, but again, another place that really bore the brunt of this storm. Palm tree swaying, and it's what the visibility, 50 feet right there because of all of that heavy rainfall.
Scary scenes there, and of course that made landfall over Anguilla overnight and is on its way towards the Virgin Islands, and then after that heading towards the potential of a Florida impact.
We also have the latest advisory in as well. Irma still an impressive, massive Category 5 hurricane, and this morning it's blasting through the Atlantic and into the Caribbean. We welcome you back into Weather Center Live. I'm Maria LaRosa.
And I'm Chris Bruin. Half of the state of Florida is within the cone of uncertainty, and concern is growing. Here's the latest on what we know right now. Florida Governor Rick Scott says that Irma is bigger, faster, and stronger than Hurricane Andrew, and the governor has also activated 900 additional National Guard members, bringing the total to 1,000 members activated.
We also have mandatory evacuations for residents of Key West. That begins at 7 p.m. tonight. And at this hour, Irma is pounding the Caribbean, places like Puerto Rico and St. Croix under those hurricane warnings.
Irma will bring life-threatening storm surge and flash flooding to several islands. For more on the latest with Hurricane Irma, we're going to bring in hurricane specialist Carl Parker.
Just one of the most dangerous storms we have ever seen across the Atlantic Basin. 185-mile-per-hour wind as of the latest advisory, Category 5 storm. This is going to bring devastating impacts to parts of the Caribbean coming up here over the next couple of days, and then beyond that is likely to strike somewhere in the southeast U.S., but we don't know exactly where just yet. I'll show you the forecast track and intensities from the Hurricane Center in a moment. Right now, moving west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. Very close call for Puerto Rico as regards the core of the storm. Right now, we think in San Juan, hurricane force winds entirely possible, but whether or not it's just a matter of Category 1 winds or something much more than that remains to be seen. We're going to follow the trends here in the visible satellite in just a moment. And here you see the forecast track and intensities, as I mentioned. And again, it's a really close call for Puerto Rico, especially the northern part of the island there. Then the storm likely passes to the north of Hispaniola, probably a direct hit for the Turks and Caicos and parts of the Bahamas as a Category 5 storm, and that's going to be late Thursday and into early Friday. And then after that, the storm perhaps directly affecting Cuba and coming up towards Florida. Now, a little bit of a change here in the 11 a.m. advisory, and you see a little more of an eastward shift involving more area of the western Atlantic offshore relative to Florida on the east coast there. Now, that still very much implicates Florida. You're talking about the potential of the system coming right up and across South Florida as possibly a Category 4 on Sunday morning. This could be devastating for Florida, and right now the best guess is that it is going to be taking aim on the eastern part of the state. But it's also possible that it shifts a little farther to the west. It's also possible that it shifts a little farther to the east. It's a very large storm, so there's almost no way that we escape serious impacts in Florida. It's just a question of the level of the impacts that we see there. And then in the longer term, it could very well come right up into Georgia and into South Carolina as an exceptionally strong storm, depending on just how much land interaction we see there in Florida. If it is more offshore, then we could be talking about an exceptionally strong storm coming up into Georgia and or the Carolinas in the longer term, Monday and into Tuesday. So still a lot of questions about where exactly this is going to head, and has a lot to do with features that are just now coming into the U.S. One thing you notice here, very light wind environment out ahead of the storm. Wind shear is not going to be an issue. And here is the feature that we're watching. It's an upper low that is now coming down across the northern plains today. Number of balloon launches there in the Midwest, so we can get a really good sense of what the atmosphere is doing there, the exact nature and character of that upper low. What the modeling shows us is that that upper low is going to come down into the southeast. At some point, it's going to begin to pull the storm northward. But where exactly is that going to occur? Where is that turn going to occur? And we just don't know yet. This is the European operational model here showing you that storm right along the east coast of Florida. But then when we look at the European ensemble members, we see that as of last night, there's still a very wide spread here, which is very similar to what we're seeing in the cone from the National Hurricane Center. And so still a wide array of possibilities. We want to go out to Mike Seidel, who's in South Florida. And Mike, this could be one of the most serious hurricane impacts that we've seen in Florida in a while.
It could be. We're hoping that it turns even sooner. A lot of folks down here are very anxious. They're on edge. It's been 12 years since they had evacuations here. That was Wilma. And more than likely, we'll hear from the mayor either later today or tomorrow morning about those evacuations. In fact, we just got word that he's going to have a press conference coming up here early this afternoon, and we'll find out when those kick in. That would be for zones A and B. For instance, over here, this is Key Biscayne across Virginia Cut. That is certainly zone A because they're very flood prone. Some of the islands like Star Island, Fisher Island, all those areas that were kind of man-made years ago, they're very prone to water coming into the Key Biscayne area and across the entire waterfront off A1A, Collins Avenue, and South Beach. Want to show you what's going on here in South Florida. You probably have heard about this or seen the pictures. Boy, there's a run on gas. There's a run on water. We saw gas lines last night stretched more than a block long. Stations that didn't have gas lines, they didn't have gas. They're out of gas. And people in the grocery stores, and they're getting what they need, and then the lines to check out are to the back of the store. So everybody's going to have plenty of food and subsistence to certainly survive on. The governor is certainly on top of this.
Storm surge and extreme winds are the biggest concern right now. We are preparing for Irma to directly impact our state, and while it's still too early to tell exactly where the storm will hit, it is incredibly important that all Floridians keep a close eye on this incredibly dangerous storm. Do not sit and wait to prepare. Get prepared now.
The National Hurricane Center has just released their updated track. There's been a change. We'll show you that next.
Growing up, we were German. We danced in a German dance group. I wore lederhosen. When I